What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you my rankings for the companions of Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. So a couple of things. One, I am only talking about the core companions. There are some mythic companions you can get, so to speak, depending on what your mythic path actually is. The Lich gets to raise some undead. The Azada get Aivu, of course. The primary reason I'm not including them is because, frankly, Aivu would win. Let's be real. We're sticking to the core companions, and moreover, this is not a ranking of their power. I might mention their power here and there, because some companions it is easier to do cool things with. This ranking is really more about my preferences than each individual companion's potential. And because of the wide variety of ways you can build companions, even that is pretty subject to debate. So with no further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, the very bottom of the list is actually going to be Greybor for me. I find him very uninspired. Greybor to me is like when I would sit down to play D&D back when I was in high school, and you'd always get that one person who's got to have that edgelord character, and that is exactly what Greybor reminds me of. And in-game, he talks all this crap about being such a amazing hired killer, but at the end of the day he's just like a regular companion, so it's just kind of one of those dissonance type things. But yeah, Greybor, hands down my least favorite. And then next up we have Dayran. Dayran's pretty close to the bottom because I don't like his class. I'm not a big fan of oracles, even though yes, I am aware they're a very strong class, especially in this particular module. I just don't like them. Moreover, I just don't like Dayran. I do not find his wannabe anti-hero nonsense charming. I find it annoying. He does get to be a slight bit above Greybor, though, simply because his actual companion quest I did think was pretty neat. 10th on the list, and this one might anger some people, it is actually Regil. Yeah, I just don't like Regil too much, to be honest. He's very cut and dry, which kind of makes sense for a lawful evil Hell Knight. And while I do think his companion quest is a little bit cool, and honestly the concept of a gnome Hell Knight, because of, gnome's thing with the bleaching, him being a Hell Knight is kind of killing him. I do find that a little bit interesting, though as a person I don't find Regil all that entertaining or anything else. You can make some pretty good builds with him though, so that leaves him in the 10th spot. Now in 9th place we have Sosiel. Sosiel to me is also very boring. He's a cleric, alright. Now that said, because he's a cleric, he does get to be a bit useful simply because if you need a cleric, he's kind of your go-to unless you want to hire a mercenary or just be one yourself. And I will give Sosiel some credit in that his companion quest was very cool. I liked his companion quest a lot, and it involves tracking down one of his family members, which I just thought was really well done. And then in 8th place, we have Laine. Laine I'm not wild about just because he's a monk, to be honest, and I don't like monks that much either. But I do find the whole mongrel storyline that he's very heavily involved with and the back and forth with Winduag to be pretty interesting. And because of that and the fact that, mongrels by themselves are pretty interesting, I give him a bit more of a pass than the other ones. And then in the number 7 spot, we have Arushale. She's fairly low on the list just because I'm not really into the very generic anime storyline they went with here. Like, I kid you not, at one point she puts herself in horny jail. I'm not even kidding. If she starts having feelings for your character, she literally puts herself in a prison cell because she can't handle the feelings. So Arushale is a succubi that is trying to ascend, so to speak, and not be a demon anymore. And it is like the most anime thing I've ever seen in a CRPG. She is, however, nonetheless, very strong because she is a demon. She gets a ridiculous stat block, and she also gets a pretty useful class that is a espionage expert. So she's a little higher on the list for that reason. Now, in the middle of the road, we have Seela. Seela is just really average to me in almost every way. It's like, yeah, she's a paladin, all right. Now, paladins in this module are very useful. They have a lot of buffs that, help with fighting demons. And because of that, she is usually in my party. But I didn't find her companion quest particularly interesting. Her character is like a paladin, you know what I mean? That kind of makes sense because she is, of course, Paizo's iconic paladin. If you're unaware of what iconic characters are, Google it. And I think that pretty much sums it up, because when I see Seela, I'm like, yep, that's a paladin, all right. Now, in the number 5 spot, we have Winduag. I just find her interesting. She's a spider cat girl who has a whole thing going on with the mongrels. She is an exclusive character with Lan for most of the game. You can either have one or the other, not both, for most of the game. And they have just a really cool storyline revolving around the fate of the mongrel race, which is, of course, part of the adventure. And because Windu is a level 1 fighter, you can just take her as a character in a lot of directions. So combine that with her just overall very interesting story, and she gets number 5. In the number 4 spot, we have Ninio. Now, Ninio's an interesting case because I really don't like Ninio as a person that much, which her companion quest kind of elaborates on, meaning that her personality makes more sense if you follow her companion line. But what I do like Ninio for is the fact that most of her dialogue is absolutely hilarious. I mean, some of it's pretty annoying, but a lot of it is hilarious. And moreover, her levels in a Scroll Savant Wizard make her one of the more useful and easy to build companions because of some of the gear you can find, and I've actually made a build video myself for her. It's just very easy to build Ninio into a very useful character without honestly a lot of effort. Combine that with the fact that she's honestly just pretty funny to have around, and I enjoy having her in my party. Now, in third place, we have Woljif. Now, I like Woljif a lot because A, the introduction to the character is super funny, but also because he's much more concerned about his place in the world, and he's one of the characters you can kind of push towards being good or evil. And I kind of like seeing that play out, and the relationship he has with your main character I found very interesting. And honestly, just being able to either make him a good and redeemed thief or a very evil person is always just a fun dynamic. I liked that they let you push that in either direction, which is the case for a few different companions, true. In the number 2 spot, we have Camellia. Now, if you're unaware, she is an awful, awful person. Minor spoilers here, but she's a serial killer. And the game does a very poor job of hiding that, which is intentional. You know, you're supposed to realize there's something up there. She has this amulet that blocks her alignment from being shown, which obviously isn't something a good character is going to be doing. And there's just a lot of hints, and then you find out through her companion line that she's actually a serial killer, and supposedly she's doing it for this spirit. And then, I don't want to spoil all of it, but oh my god, they took that so far. Like, it got to a point where I was just like, I'm kind of curious just to see how far they're gonna take this, and it gets really wild. And while she herself can be a pretty good companion for sure, depending on how you build her, of course, more than anything, her companion quest honestly just shocked me a bit, and because of that, I will remember Camellia for a long time. And then, of course, that leaves us with the number 1 spot, and it is, of course, Ember. Ember is both capable of being very strong mechanically, and is also just really cool. She is a stigmatized witch who was burned at the stake and then saved from that stake, and if she joins your party, she spends that time attempting to persuade both crusaders and demons to be good and not kill anything. And depending on your interactions with Ember, her success in that varies wildly. But overall, Ember is my favorite because she has a really cool backstory coupled with a very, very interesting companion line that ends in a very unexpected way. And honestly, either way you go, if you are evil to Ember, as with most companions, she has a good or bad ending, so to speak. And even the bad ending is interesting. So Ember's just a really cool companion, and that's why she's number 1. Now, of course, we didn't mention the Mythic Companions, but as I mentioned, if we did, Aivu would have been the clear winner there. Now, with all that said, guys, I really hope you did enjoy the video. By all means, let me know in the comments how you yourself would rank these particular companions, as this is something very subjective, and everyone is going to have a different answer, and I'm very curious as to what people think. So, leave me a comment down in the comment section below. May you wander in wisdom, and have an amazing day.